Good morning. My name is Mark Gislow, and I serve on the Board of Trustees here at East Shore as the Financial Secretary. Welcome to East Shore Unitarian Universalist Church. I would like to extend a special welcome to any newcomers who are with us this morning, and I encourage you to spend some time getting to know us. If you'd like to be on our mailing list, we invite you to sign up at the greeters table. You'll find additional information at the pamphlet rack in the narthex. Our greeters will be happy to answer any questions. Please join us for coffee and polite conversation in the back of the sanctuary following the service.
Acknowledgement of native lands. Here I stand, and here we gather on land of the first peoples to live here, the Erie Nation, which was part of the Iroquois group of native peoples. They lived in long houses surrounded by palisades. In summer, they were nourished by their three crops: corn, beans, and squash. In winter, they hunted. This was their land, the land of the Erie Nation.
For the chalice lighting, I'm going to read the words of Leslie Cole Cospow in the back of your hymnal at 451 if you'd like to follow along. Flame of fire, spark of the universe that warmed our ancestral hearth, agent of life and death, symbol of truth and freedom, we strive to understand ourselves and our earthly home. At this point in the service, we pause for a sharing of our joys and cares. And following the moment of silence, we'll have a period of time to kind of hold those joys and cares in our hearts, whether they've been shared or not shared. When the signing bowl sings, please join in placing a stone in the bowl here at the front. If you didn't pick one up on your way in, there is a bowl at the back alley there where you can pick up a stone and imbue it with your thoughts and your prayers for others and for yourself. The book that we share some of our joys and cares in is found out in the narthex on a pedestal. Let's see if anybody wrote anything in it for today. Maggie is pleased to announce that she has a new great-grandson, Zane Redden, and she is off in Indianapolis today meeting him this weekend. Kelly, Megan, and Ashley have lost their grandmother this morning. Please keep that family in your thoughts, prayers, and positive vibes. She was 92 years young. So for those thoughts and all others, please take a moment to hold on to your stones if you have them, and remember those thoughts that we have for each other. We'll have a moment of silence now.
by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
The stories for Time for All Ages this morning is from Aesop's Fables. I really like these fables because they're short. The first one I'd like to share with you is The Ant and the Grasshopper. I'm sure you're familiar with these, but they really kind of apply to Earth Day, so I thought I would share a couple of these with you. In a field one summer's day, a grasshopper was hopping around, chirping and singing its heart's content. An ant passed by, bearing along with great toil an ear of corn he was trying to take to his nest. "Why not come and chat with me," said the grasshopper, "instead of toiling and moiling in that way?" "I am helping to lay up food for the winter," said the ant, "and I recommend that you do the same." "Why bother about winter?" said the grasshopper. "We have plenty of food right now, and the winter is far away." But the ant went on his way, continuing to toil. When the winter came, the grasshopper found itself dying of hunger. While it saw the ants distributing every day corn and grain from the stores they had collected in the summer. That's when the grasshopper knew it is best to prepare for the day of necessity. The second fable is The Goose with the Golden Eggs. One day a countryman, going to the nest of his goose, found there was an egg there, all yellow and glittering. When he took it up, it was as heavy as lead, and he was going to throw it away because he thought someone had pulled a trick on him. But he took it home, having second thoughts, and soon found that it was actually an egg of pure gold. Every morning, the same thing occurred. Each day, one more golden egg. He grew rich by selling these eggs, and as he grew rich, he grew greedy. Thinking to get all at once, all the gold that the goose could give, he decided to kill it. He opened her up, and he found nothing. Greed often overreaches itself.
You will find
service. It was kind of sudden, and I was asked to do this, and something for Earth Day. And I said, well, Earth Day, that's already passed. And they said, well, you know, it's like there's Easter and Orthodox Easter, so this is Orthodox Earth Day. But my main message is that every day is Earth Day, so we should always be thinking of taking care of the Earth. As you know, I had headed up this organization, FACT, Faith Communities Together for a Sustainable Future. And I see some folks here that are part of that, still part of that. And we certainly appreciate everybody's support that's participated in FACT. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary this summer, so we've been around for a little while. We're trying to grow ourselves. We're trying to get more faith communities involved, more denominations. We're going to be reaching out. We had some synagogues involved for a while, but those kind of left our group, and we're going to try to reestablish connections with Muslims. Because every faith tradition has teachings in it or traditions in it that talk about care for the earth. And I'm not going to mention them all because there are a lot, there are a lot of them. I have a longer show that has a lot of them. I'm going to focus on the Native American tradition. We sang about that today a little bit. And they say, the Iroquois says in their tradition, in our every deliberation, we must consider the impact of our decisions on the next 7 generations. And from Crazy Horse, treat the earth well. It was not given to you by your parents. It was loaned to you by your children. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. So this is our inspiration that all faith traditions have this value of caring for creation. We call it the web of life. So we ask, do we not have a responsibility to care for the earth? And again, I'm reminding us of our 7th UU principle, which is to care for the earth, respect the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. Now, the main problem that I'm going to talk about today, the challenge that we have, that we can do something about in Ohio, is this problem of gas well waste brine being spread in the environment in Ohio. Okay, this is toxic and radioactive waste from wells, mainly gas wells, and it's being used as a de-icer and a dust control agent on roads, driveways, parking lots, and other things. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that, about why it's dangerous and what we can do to stop it. Okay, we have 2 kinds of gas wells in Ohio. We have conventional wells and unconventional wells. The conventional wells go back many years, more than 100 years. You just drill straight down into the earth, and where there's a pocket of gas, it's like a straw, you just get it out, maybe 2,000 feet, 2,500 feet down. Okay, and this is where this brine waste is coming from in Ohio. It's coming from these conventional wells. It's not legal to take it from unconventional wells. These deep shale wells that go down and are horizontal, they go much deeper. However, in testing, we have found out that the waste is just as bad from the deep shale wells as it is from the vertical wells. And that you can't go by the depth of the well. Some samples are higher, some are lower on each one. But right now, only the vertical wells, conventional wells, are allowed to use this waste. It's produced into a product. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. In 1985, the General Assembly made it legal to use well brine waste as a de-icer on the roads. Now, there were no unconventional wells in Ohio at that time, so that only applied to conventional wells. And still does. Okay, now what are the toxins? Let's think about what are the toxins in this waste. Okay, for one thing, the salts, especially sodium chloride, very extremely saline. It's up to 10 times the salinity of seawater. So that's one thing. There are other elements like barium and strontium often found in this too. Strontium isn't so much of a problem unless it tends to be strontium chromite. Barium is toxic though to humans. But the most important part, the most dangerous part, is the radium. because these shales, these formations that are under the ground, are the ores of radium. And so you're going to get radium-226 and 228, two isotopes, radioactive isotopes of radium. Okay, in recent years, the product that I mentioned is aqua salina. And in recent years, this product has been manufactured by a company in Cleveland called Duck Creek Energy. And it's been sold to the state. The state has used it on some roads. But it was also made available on store shelves. So people could just buy it off the shelf, put it on their driveways to their steps, and not knowing that it's radioactive. Okay, and the ODNR, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, cracked down on this and forced them to take it off the store shelves. They're supposed to be regulating anything with oil and gas, and they said, you can't do it, so they took it off. Just to think about how this could be used, or is being used in some places in Ohio. These trucks come by with brine, and they deposit it on the road, just like a salt truck, except it's a brine product. And, the idea is to melt the ice, and it does melt the ice quite effectively because it's very salty. But then you know how things are. There's rain, the snow melts, it is pulled out off the road into grass, gets down into the water table. It's pollutant in the environment. Just the salinity itself is toxic to plants and animals. Okay, and then in the spring, when things get warmer and towards summer when they dry up, sometimes you see that like scaly white stuff on the road. That stuff dries up, the wind picks it up, it aerosolizes it, and people can breathe it in. Okay, well, it's got radioactive stuff in it, the radium-226 and 228. And the alpha rays, if you inhale it, it causes lung cancer. Okay, this is an info graphic that shows sort of the whole thing. I know it's hard to see it, but there's a brine truck here, and it's spreading the material on the road, but it's infiltrating into the water table. It's running off where humans are playing and working, and this is an embryo in the stream that will be affected by it negatively. You can see it says it's got barium and sodium, salt, radium, strontium. Okay, now also the calcium and magnesium that's in this brine waste, because these are other things that are in it, it's a bone seeker. So when you ingest that stuff, all that radiation stuff is attracted or pulled into your bones. And so again, that can cause bone cancer. This is very hard to see probably from where you are. But if you can see the red, this is a map of Ohio. And the red squares are townships in Ohio that have been using or are using brine, this kind of brine, radioactive brine, on their township roads. So naturally, I was interested in our area. In Lake County, it's really hard to see. Even if you're close, it's hard to see. It looks like the southeast corner of Lake County has a township, but that isn't really correct. I looked at it more closely. It's actually the northernmost township in Geauga County. And Geauga County has, it looks like 3 townships on its eastern border that are still using the brine. The lighter marks are like they're using a lesser amount. The red is like using the most amount. And Ashtabula County over here up by the lake, they have a lot on their eastern side. So a lot of those townships are using it. One reason the townships do this is, many townships do this, is it's very cheap. The oil and gas industry is just trying to get rid of this stuff, so they're selling it pretty cheaply. And they have huge quantities, and they're just trying to move it out, and this is a way of getting it out. If they don't dispose of it by selling it, they make some money. But if they dispose it in the Class 2 injection well, which is what they're supposed to do, they have to pay a fee to that well owner. So it costs them money. So obviously they're going to do what's more profitable if they get away with it. Now, some legislation has been proposed to change the status of aqua salina from a regulated product under ODNR to a commodity. in Ohio law, when you do that, anything that's a commodity that is taken out of regulation by ODNR. So this would allow them to go back, put all these things on store shelves for people to buy. People can just buy it off the shelf and use it all over the place. So bills that are involved are in committee right now. And I'll tell you more about them later. But in recent times, in 2021, the Ohio Department of Transportation stopped using this product. They didn't say why, they just stopped using it. And the Turnpike Commission also stopped using it. But what they did is they have about 200,000 gallons left of it, and they're going to use up what they have left, but they're not going to buy any more of it. Once that's gone, that's it. The Ohio Department of Health made a statement that it has not been properly tested to see that it's safe, and I think that's what was behind those agencies' decision to stop using it. Yet this bill is in the Senate, State Senate, and the State House. House Bill 282, Senate Bill 171. It's been there since the middle of last year, 2021, and it's still in committee. They've gotten a tremendous amount of opposition testimony, but they still are considering it. And people that have watched this, like Reverend Joan Van Beesler, who used to be the head of the Ohio Wheatville District, and she was the head of UUJO, she said what they typically do in the General Assembly is if there's something like this that's controversial, they'll sort of sit on it for a while until no one's paying attention. Then they'll suddenly call a vote, like in the middle of the night or something, and pass it. So we have to keep an eye on it. That's the point. We have to keep an eye on it to make sure they don't do that. Now, there's another potential impact of these bills, of this bill, if it passes. Okay, if it passes, they're going to make it legal to put this stuff on the shelves, sell this radioactive stuff off the shelf, not regulated by ODNR, and then it opens the door. It may open the door, may set a precedent. Why don't we allow it from the unconventional wells as well? All right, we allow it from the conventional, why don't we just allow it from the unconventional wells? And if that happens, these unconventional wells, it's not that the material in those wells is worse than the vertical wells. The problem is the amount that it produces. It's a huge amount. I mean, many factors larger than the vertical wells. So we would have more and more of the stuff in the environment where it does not belong. Okay, so in conclusion, this is from one of our demonstrations in Warren. People of faith say ban frac rates. What can we do about this problem? Okay, well, the first thing I always tell everybody, and we've talked to some other congregations already, is talk to other people about it. Let them know about the issue, because a lot of people don't know about it. And I would tell you, the chances are, unless your state representative or senator is on one of these committees where the bills are, they might not even know about it. Because they usually just focus on their own legislation or their own interest. And if they happen not to be interested in that, they won't even be aware that that's in committee. So one thing we can do is let them know it's in committee and we don't like it. So yeah, talking to people, your friends, your neighbors, people in here in the church, maybe people that are not here today, get the word out. And the thing of it is, when you tell somebody about it, it's better that somebody that you know that's close to you, they're more likely to take it seriously than if they heard it from somebody they don't know as well. So it's very important. Word of mouth is extremely important. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. Make them aware of the problem and encourage them to explore more on it, because to get into detail, it's hard to do that in a conversation, but you can have them look things up on the internet. And some good websites, I think it's in the handout too, the websites. The O.H. Bryan Task Force, which is really good. FracTracker.org and our group, Fact Ohio. All three will give you a lot of information, especially the task force. It's really good. And another step to take, that's where the handout comes in, that's in your order of service, is let your representative know about these bills and that you're opposed to these bills, that you don't want this stuff in the environment. Like somebody said to me, somebody that testified said, really, is the public clamoring for this? Who's going to benefit from this bill if these bills pass? Do we have people beating down the doors saying, you got to pass these? People of Ohio want this. No. The only person who wants it is the owner of Duck Creek Energy, I think. He's the only one. He's down there with his colleagues testifying in favor of it. Nobody else is really testifying in favor of it. So why would they even consider it? Why would our state representatives consider it? Well, I invite you to get to know our state General Assembly a little better. Money has a lot to do with it. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so with climate change, taking a look at the bigger picture, we shouldn't be pursuing fossil fuels like this. Anything with the fossil industry. We really need to, especially this war in Ukraine, everybody's saying, oh, we got to make more, liquefied natural gas and ship it. No, it's time for us to take renewable energy more seriously. Solar, wind, and geothermal. And Ohio has been especially bad in blocking wind power. So that's another thing you can talk to your representatives about. They're passing all these restrictive setback laws for wind turbines, and yet they'll allow a gas and oil drilling rig within 100 feet of a building or a house in rural areas. But for a wind turbine, it has to be, I think it's 800 or 1,000 feet setback. So, you can see where their bias is. And finally, I hope that some of you would be willing to get on our mailing list. And I thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream.
As a member of the Board of Trustees, I would like to thank you for your attendance today and for all the gifts you have brought with you. The gift of your presence, the gift of the care you give to each other, and the gift of the financial resources that you share with all of us. Please know that those financial resources are used with diligence and care by your Finance Committee and your Board to help sustain this caring community. I want to just add a personal note, which is how much I appreciate our piano music and having the choir here and being back in the building. The piano we have in the sanctuary was a donation that we received. I think it was last year sometime. And it's taken a lot of time and effort for people in the Worship Arts Committee and the choir to keep that up. And I think we're very fortunate to have such great musicians to share that time with us on Sundays. And I just want to note my personal appreciation. Thank you.
to do wise planting, that the generations to come may reap even more abundantly than we. May we be bold in bringing to fruition the golden dreams of human kinship and justice. This we ask, that the fields of promise become fields of reality. Those are the words of Emil Goodman. We join hands.